If you're listening to this, there's a good chance you work within the real estate investing industry. There's another good chance that you would like to increase the sales of your products or services. Well, you're in the right place. United States Real Estate Investor is a platform you need to place your brand directly in front of your target audience. With our focused, growing audience of real estate investing beginners, enthusiasts, and seasoned professionals, you can continually reach our captivated viewers and listeners with ease. To learn more or to get started today, just visit UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com/advertising. That's UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com/advertising. Get ready to increase your brand awareness and your bottom line. Attract clients with content.
Hey, welcome to This Month in Real Estate Investing, everybody. In this episode, we'll be covering a variety of news items, including average income earners don't make enough to qualify for the average home. Here's how much you need to make for a $500,000 mortgage. It's a long headline. For real estate investors, costs are rising due to this unexpected cost, and rising construction may ease housing price pressures, economist says. All this and more on this episode of This Month in Real Estate Investing. Let's start the show. All right, everybody. I'm your host, James Brown, and I teach people how to make double-digit returns through safe, secure, stress-tested real estate investments. Go to hybridinvestor.vip to learn more. If you're watching live, feel free to comment and ask questions. Our guests today are Nathan Turner, who is returning for a second episode with us. Once he gets on, he's running a little late. And new to the show, Shawn Honer, is that how you say it? And Richard Roop.
Yes, sir.
All right. In that order, I guess let's start with Shawn. Introduce yourselves and share your background. What types of investing you guys focus on?
Well, I consider myself a newbie still when it comes to real estate investing. I started maybe 6 years ago. Started with the single family property down in Florida and moved to multifamily 2 years afterwards. About 18 months ago, I started dipping and dabbing in the storage facilities. And to this date, I have 3 facilities, total probably at 250 doors at all 3 facilities. Also have a couple other commercial properties, a small restaurant, a dance studio, automotive shop, and a tire shop. So that's what I have so far in my portfolio.
Great. Thanks. Richard?
All right. Well, I bought my first investment property, so to speak, back in 1996. I bought over 500 houses over the years as a creative real estate investor. I'm a marketing consultant turned real estate investor, and now I'm kind of known as the marketing consultant for real estate investors. I use a creative approach. I don't rely on banks or mortgage brokers or real estate agents, or I don't even rely on my buyers to keep their promises or anything like that. So I've set it up so it's a little bit stress-free and it's very creative. Don't deal with banks or anything like that. It's an option. It's just I don't rely on it. And so what I do now, I help a lot of real estate investors generate leads and convert more of their leads into deals through marketing campaigns, through marketing strategies. And today I'm really big on helping people apply artificial intelligence strategies and tools to scale their business and do a lot, provide more value, do things better, do things faster, and to make a lot more money.
Fantastic. Right on. Cutting edge stuff.
It is. It is.
It's exciting. Right on. Well, hey, let's jump into the news. So first one up from Benzinga, 10 states with the highest rent increases. And I'll read them off starting at the top. Florida, Colorado, where I live, Montana, Idaho, Tennessee, Georgia, Arizona, New Hampshire, Utah, and New Mexico. And yeah, just a little note here, Florida and Colorado have experienced rent increases of over 45% since 2020. So,
well, just the ones you mentioned are between 36 and 45. That's a huge increase, between 36% and 45%.
Yeah. Shawn, are you in Florida, or are you somewhere else?
So I'm in Georgia, and I'm in Southwest Georgia, a town called Albany. But speaking of Florida, I just left Florida this past weekend on vacation. But my very first property, which was a single family home, was actually in Florida. And it was amazing how I was able to just, put some lipstick on that property and jack that rent up, and it's true. Now it's just a landlord's haven, go there and basically charge what we want to charge. So.
Yeah. Where do you live?
I'm in Texas. So, and one of the reasons I came to Texas is because of the real estate opportunities and the taxes and stuff like that. So, and I'm in a small rural area, which is, I recommend, that's a good place to own long-term, is go further and further out, because all of these cities that you mentioned are metro areas. And I think it's kind of bubblish right now. Those rents are really high. I think there's going to be continued demand for rentals. So it's good to have rental properties. I don't think we're going to sustain that growth in rents because of the changes in the economy as that we expect.
Yeah.
I think people's incomes are going to go down. That's my. I don't have a crystal ball. It's just that I've been through several cycles, and I've been doing this for a couple of decades. And the writing on the wall is people are going to have more and more trouble creating that financial stability if they're just the normal, they have a job, and if you're an entrepreneur, you can pivot, you can do a lot of things. And I think a lot of people should have a side hustle or start a business or something like that. But the economy, it doesn't look bright, but for real estate, there's always going to be that demand.
Yeah, people need places to live.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially when we're talking residential, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. Hey, a comment was, will AI make incomes decrease? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of people's, I would say over the next 1 to 3 years, a lot of jobs are just going to go away because it can be automated. It can be done through artificial intelligence. And I think people should understand that and find out, what they can do. Like if you're a business owner and you have employees, well, a lot of those employees you're not going to need anymore. In fact, that's the case today, depending on what they do, if it's very repetitive and things that can be systemized. So if you're employed, you want to look at how you can provide that human element to your job and be valuable, and then use AI to become more valuable. So I think it's the people that don't, because everybody's going to be using AI, so you might as well start learning how to use it now and use it in your job, not only to keep your job, but to get a raise. And then, of course, if you're a business owner, you got huge opportunities, huge. So there's going to be this divide, and so you want to stay. You don't want to fall asleep. You want to, and it's fun stuff. I mean, you can use it in your business, in your job, and as well for personal. I planned a trip that I'm going on in September with my family. It's a road trip, and I planned it all out very simply. I just told ChatGTP, I said, here's what I want to do. And it laid out my entire schedule, told me what the mileage was, how much I'd spend on gas, how many hotel rooms I needed. And then when I changed the dates, it just instantly changed my agenda when I said I changed my date. So wow. a lot of fun, a lot of uses. It's almost unlimited as far as the use case goes.
Yeah, it's like what can we come up with, right?
It's whatever you can imagine, actually.
Yeah.
I recently did a program called How to Do Anything, Anywhere, All at Once using AI. And it basically, you can do anything. So it's all a matter of your goals, your intention, and what you want to improve, change, or have.
Yeah. I know I've used it for descriptions for listing properties. You know, I had to go in and tweak it, but it kind of did the heavy lifting and smoothed it out, made it a little more appealing, where I've always struggled with making it sound cool because you kind of just taking a bulleted list of all the features and benefits, and it's just like it really helps.
It'll do 80% of it for you, right? Yeah, knock that out in a few seconds, and then you just spend the other 20% making it how you want it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff.
I guess I better get on the bandwagon now because I have not been doing this, Richard.
Go to openai.com and set up a ChatGTP account, and it's free, and just play with it. And there's you can just ask it anything. So whenever I'm racking my brain about anything, I can just go in there and say, I'm racking my brain about this. What do you need to know to help me? It'll ask me some questions. I answer those questions. It'll give me phenomenal output. Or you just ask it anything. Anything I do that before I go to Google sometimes.
That's pretty amazing.
I get a lot of I'm on Instagram, and I get a lot of feeds where it explains different things you can do with it. And one thing I just did the other day was set it up so on my iPhone I say, "Hey Siri, start chat," and I can just access it. Oops, it's starting to do it. It works. That's pretty cool though. It can be way more powerful than just saying, "Hey Siri, look up something on the internet." Oh, there it goes again. But anyway,
yeah, it's like you have to have some type of outcome, right? I want to figure something out, or I want to create something, right? And then you go in there and then just again, you learn how to ask the right questions and what I call super prompts, where you ask it so well that you don't have to ask so many questions. But a lot of times you just ask a simple question and you just drill down until you get your answer. It's just like having a kind of an expert at your disposal that has access to everything almost, right? So it's the sky's the limit.
Yep. Another note in this article said the national average rent reached 2018 in March, reflecting a 26.47% increase since 2020. That surprises me. For Denver, that's not much, but there's a lot of markets that are much lower than that. So I was surprised that average was right at that 2,000 mark.
Yeah, that's a low average compared to what you see in the big cities. Yeah. Any
other comments on this? We should probably get going since we've got more news. Good.
No.
All right. So the next one from Benzinga, Ethereum Towers announces final mint of luxury metaverse apartments. I was just trying to get my head around what are they even talking about.
I was too, James.
Okay. Yeah.
Not alone.
All right. So what they're talking about is virtual assets, NFTs. And these are things that you can own online virtually. And it's on the blockchain. And apparently people are, whenever they say mint, that's how they create NFTs. They mint them, and then you can own them, you can sell them, you can swap them. and then you can use them in what's called the metaverse, right? The metaverse is your online virtual reality place where you do stuff. Now, I'm not into that, but that's basically what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it. Like, I still don't get it. That's making me feel old. I'm like, what are they even talking about? Anyway, yeah, I was saying they've got 3 types of apartments: standard, luxury, and penthouse. You can display your NFT artwork in your apartment, and even host virtual events with musicians and stuff. So,
Very interesting.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe gamer type people, get into that.
Right.
But I don't know if you're paying for that. I don't understand that either.
You actually, when they mint stuff, you're typically paying for it because I don't think it's, I think you should just buy actual real estate. But it's something that people do. I got someone at the door. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah. When he says real estate, it's like, yeah, it's called real estate for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't get it.
Define real estate.
Yeah. That reminds me, I got a buddy. He got into this business where they had like these, it's a virtual world kind of thing where you could buy these tokens and jewelry and stuff, and real money paying for these, but virtual jewelry and stuff, and gift them. So like guys would gift, a ring or a necklace or something to a girl or something. I was like, really? And guy made, I think he's a millionaire. I'm like, are you serious? But so this makes me go, maybe there's something to this.
You know what? It's I'm not an expert at it, but it's already kind of seen its heyday, and the people that are mostly involved in it now are, it's gone like a different direction, but I'm not really into it, and I'm not an expert at it. I just decided I didn't want to get involved in it.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's jump into the next one. Another from Benzinga. Average income earners don't make enough to qualify for the average home. Here's how much you need to make for a $500,000 mortgage. Let's see. They talk about the 28-36 rule, suggesting that housing costs should not exceed 28% of monthly income. I know lenders look at that. And total housing costs plus debt payments should not exceed 36% of income. So, any comments on that?
Well, a $500,000 mortgage, you have to have pre-tax income of $110,000.
Yep.
I think you're going to see some trouble with them. Well, we've already seen people are having more challenges getting their mortgages. That's why I think it's good to be in maybe. There's a lot of people like what we've seen with a property appreciation over time is the baby boomers, and they're being more conservative, and they're downsizing, and so that's going to have one impact on prices. The low availability is pushing up rents and pushing up prices, right? But yeah, people have to be able to afford. So I think actually some people will have to rent and not buy just because it's going to be hard. The requirements to get a mortgage are getting tougher for some people. And look at the income requirements. Of course, that's a $500,000 loan, right?
Yeah, which is below average for Denver. So.
Well, in 2008, I don't know. I probably had 50. Well, I don't know how many properties I had at the time. Well, I had about 60 properties. But we saw the mortgage market change in 2008 with the financial crisis, 2008 financial crisis and the housing bubble, and prices in the sand states went down like 50%. Now that's fine if you're just going to buy and hold and keep forever, right? But if you have to sell in the next couple of years and the price goes down, then you get hurt. I I don't know when, but at some point, I think we're kind of in that bubblish phase, and at some point it has to adjust, and I just don't know when. But I never like to rely on appreciation, so I like to rely on income. So if you buy a property, yeah, can you afford it, and you want to keep it long term. If you're going to rent it out, you want to you want to have at least a break even. But I wouldn't rely on the property going up. I would rely on the money you can make keeping it, from the tax benefits and the positive cash flow and those type of benefits. I look at appreciation as a bonus.
Right.
And the longer you hold, the more you can weather any type of changes, because we always see changes in the market.
Yeah, just got to be able to hang on to it. Richard, what states or markets have you mainly invested in over the years, and has that changed over the years?
Most of the properties I bought were in Colorado, but I have partners, joint venture partners, where we buy properties nationwide. So I'm familiar with housing markets nationwide. My preference is to get out of the metro areas and go on what I call the sprawl. So maybe be 20 or 30 minutes from the metro area if you can, where you can have more for your money, more natural beauty, less crime. And that, I think people's values, that's what they want, but it's also more affordable. And the further you go out, the more affordable it is. Right now, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm not currently buying properties. I'm helping other investors. But yeah, I actually had a lawsuit back in 2014 where the government took 56 of my properties.
Ooh.
For no good reason.
Oh, that's a stinger. Wow.
Yeah, that was a stinger, and it took me a couple of years to work my mind around that and get over it. But yeah, it was just one of those things that nobody can explain it. So asset protection is a good idea. But most of my properties were in Colorado. I moved to Texas. I have just a very, so I have a free and clear property, a couple of acres, and I'm in the middle of nowhere because I work virtually. I can work from home, and I travel a lot. And so that's for my lifestyle. Some people like to have the convenience of being in a large town, and that's fine. But I think if I was to want and I do, I'd like to have a multi-million-dollar property on the beach here in Texas, but I would probably lease it with the option to buy versus owning it right now, because the higher the property range, the more it'll get hit if things change. And since I don't think things are going to continue to go up in the high price range, but I want to own that, or I want to use that property, then I might just lease it and give up the ownership benefits, but also maybe rent it for less than a mortgage, right? We talked about the price of mortgages going up, or what you have to make in order to pay a certain mortgage. Sometimes you can lease a high-end property for a lot less than it would cost to own it.
Right. From a seller that's got enough equity, they can do that, right?
Yeah, and a lot of those, and sometimes those high-end properties are free and clear.
Yeah. So that's my focus is lease options. And so our challenge is finding ones that we can buy with the high interest rates that still cash flow. So that's where, going to, what you've been doing, Richard, all your career, finding those off-market deals, creative financing, not relying on those 7.625 rates for investors, which we got right now.
I've never used my own credit to buy a property. I actually refinanced 3 of my properties using my credit, but I wouldn't do that again either, because if you get really good at getting really, really clear on how you help a seller sell their property and the value that you can provide them, then you target those perfect properties. For example, the rates right now, if you can take over a 3 or 4% mortgage, then that's better than taking over something higher or getting a loan at that rate. So you can take over people that need to sell. People always need to sell. You just got to find the right people, right? Mm-hmm. And with a good campaign, you just have this constant lead of people calling you saying, I'm looking to sell now. What can you do for me? because my option is I can buy the house, or you can go ahead and list it, or sell it for sale by owner, or keep it, right? But if you want to sell it quick and easy, if they have a lot of equity, if they have a really good loan with a good rate, or if they have a lot of equity, I can play with their equity and make it cash flow, and still and the benefit I get from that lower interest rate, I like going after free and clear, where they can be the bank and I can just offer them the applicable federal rate, which is the government rate, which is the minimum interest that the government wants someone to charge on a mortgage. It's like 1.8%. So I said, so I offer them 1.8% mortgage, and that's the government rate. And when I do that, I'm more of my payment is paying down principal, so I can pay a higher price to the seller. So the sellers, have you ever talked to a seller that was stuck on price?
Every one of them.
Well, so I can always pay whatever the seller's price they want. I can pay it. The only question is when. Because the more money that I put out into the future, pay it over time or lump sum down the road, then the more I can pay, because I can calculate the benefit, the time value of money. So as long as it cash flows, right, with all my expenses, at least break even, right? Because I'm at least getting the principal pay down and any bonus appreciation, right? As long as it cash flows, putting someone in there, I can pay more than market value. So I put that in when I send postcards to people. I say, look, I can pay you more than any buyer. I give you all these benefits, plus I can pay more than any other buyer because I have a long-term buy and hold approach. And then when they call, then you have to find out if it's going to work out or not. But my intention is to get the most number of people who want to sell calling me. I like inbound leads are about 800% better than outbound. Trying to find deals, doing marketing to get it coming to you is always the way to go for me.
Yeah. Hey, let's jump into our next news from Curb.
I like your strategy, Richard. I've done the same.
Yeah, go for it, Shawn. All right.
I was telling Richard I like his strategy.
Yeah. It's called the ultimate strategy, by the way. Because it works all the time on any property in any economy. So it's like the ultimate. Yeah. I gave you the overview, but yeah, I've learned how to do it over the years.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep things going here. From Curbed, office apocalypse, new glut city. The city's mega office landlords are panicking, pivoting, and shedding what's worthless. And they're talking about Scott Rechler, the chairman and CEO of RXR Realty. He bought a bunch of office buildings during the last recession. It sounded like he had sold some business and went crazy buying, and he might be over his head. Did you guys read that or have any comments on it?
No, I didn't.
Commercial. I have a buddy here in Arizona who's buying developing a commercial property, and I haven't asked him yet, but it's like, why are you doing that now? Because again, commercial real estate has already gotten hit with the changes over the past year or so, and it's again long term with the right financing, and it is great as long as it cash flows and stuff. But I'd be careful about there's certain segments of commercial property like storage units and stuff like that are great, that I think would be good, but retail space and some other stuff that if you just think, if we had another lockdown or something like that, who's going to get hurt? Remember the movie theaters, the retail and all that. Those are the type of properties I wouldn't want to go out and buy or own. So I'd be careful in the commercial space because I think it's going to continue to get hit.
Yeah. This comes up every month on the show, like, especially office space, right? Because it was like rats bailing out of a ship, sinking ship. It's a tough space to be in. But like you said, self-storage, other things are fine.
I drive around, and I drive through different towns, and I drive through towns where they have all these like big box stores and all these retail centers and stuff, and they're half empty, you know, and so it's very market specific. But again, if you're in a very dense area, high metro area, then the prices might have been pushed up, might be bubblish, but it's really based on demand. What affects commercial is a lot of commercial real estate investors, they are getting loans, so their rates have gone up, right? And that changes all the numbers because it's all about cash flow on commercial. It's all about cash flow, and that's the value of a commercial property is what the cash flow will provide.
Yep. One question we had from viewers: is commercial real estate dead? And flex space on the rise? I know there's a lot of people getting creative, creating flex space.
Flex space, I like the idea. I'd have to research, the demand for it, because a lot of people can actually work from home. Like I'm recording a program here. I was in the studio, and the guys that were in the studio, they were going to go home and work on the editing and all that. They didn't need to be in the studio for that. We needed a studio because we need a studio, so that's a physical thing. But a lot of work can be done from home. I think that's going to continue to grow, especially with AI. But yeah, if you have a team and you like to meet with your team, instead of having your own office, you have this flex space, especially if you don't need it all the time. So I like the idea of flex space. I'd have to do, I don't know what the future is for it or the demand for it is, but I like the idea of it. And as far as creative real estate, it's always, to me, there's a lot of people invest in real estate different ways. If you're a one-trick pony, then you're leaving a lot of potential deals on the table that you couldn't convert because you weren't flexible enough. You didn't have other options. So to me, a creative real estate investor is a transaction engineer, so they can look at the situation and have multiple ways. I can lease option it, right? I can do owner financing. I can take over someone's existing loan, or I can flip it. I can fix and flip it. I can buy and hold it. So if you have all these different exits, then if your focus is on helping the seller or helping your buyer or helping your private investor or your other investor or your lender, if you focus on providing value and you know what you can do, to me, that is being creative, having all those options. So yeah, that's always the way to go, especially, in up markets and down markets. It's how, if up markets, there's a lot of benefits to that. Down markets, if you're in the job of helping people solve problems in a down market, more and more people, like when we go through these articles, more and more people are having different types of problems. If you're in the business of helping them, providing solutions, then yeah, you're always going to be in demand. Mm-hmm. So yeah, creative real estate is the way to go. I've never been a traditional, landlord, put 20% down, borrow some money, and own a property to be a landlord. And I don't like being a landlord. I always put a buyer, someone who's going to buy the house from me later in the house, mm-hmm. give them 1, 2, 5 years, whatever. I don't care. I want to hold the house, but I don't want a tenant. Yep. I want a buyer mentality in the house. And if they buy it, great. And if they don't, great. It doesn't matter. So I like being in that position. Like I told you earlier, I don't like relying on anybody to keep any agreements. Sleep better at night.
Yep, that's why we do lease options. And we're helping families get into homes that we're getting told by the banks, right? So I love that.
60% of the people that want to buy houses can't, and you're serving that market.
Yep. All right, let's take a break and learn from one of our sponsors.
Hey, it's me, Antonio Holman, founder of United States Real Estate Investor and producer of This Month in Real Estate Investing. Are you ready to ignite your financial freedom with what has been called the hottest REI strategy around, or should I say strategies? Enter Jason Palliser's 2-day investment blueprint, where you will learn the secrets that the real estate investing community doesn't know because they never had a reason to before. With Jason's 2-day investment blueprint, you will learn how to tackle real estate deals with over 40 different strategies, which means your chances of losing another deal nearly disappears completely. In Jason's 2-day life transformation intensive, you will learn how to generate more deals, close deals faster, win more deals over other investors, multiply your real estate deal strategies, and much more. Jason's 2-day investment blueprint can help you grow your REI business to 6 and 7 figures faster with much less aggravation. If you want to learn how to invest in any market in the United States, even the tough markets, and close multiple deals per month, visit 2dayblueprint.com. That's the number 2dayblueprint.com. And make sure you tell them you heard it here on This Month in Real Estate Investing. Don't believe the no more good deals hype and visit 2dayblueprint.com today. Now, back to James with This Month in Real Estate Investing.
All right, let's get back to the news. From Fortune, commercial real estate billionaire Barry Sternlicht's firm just defaulted on a $212.5 million Atlanta office tower. Saying a lot of these vacancies are caused by remote work, as we all kind of know. So the delinquency rate for offices is super high. It actually surged 4.5% in June from 1.7% the previous year. So,
yeah, in fact, that question that we had was CRE dead and is flex space on the rise? Actually, I think they meant CRE as commercial real estate.
Yeah,
it was commercial real estate dead. And this is you just read in the article, the changes in the demand for that type of space caused him to default on that commercial property, and yeah, we're going to continue to see that. Office buildings, yeah, an office tower in Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting the same thing every month. So like I said before, there's opportunity, but when do you jump in, right? I think that's the big question for people that are looking for those opportunities.
There's always opportunities. There's always
opportunities. Yeah. All right. We have Nathan Turner back.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So let's see. Let's just jump into the next article from Yahoo Finance. For real estate investors, costs are rising due to this unexpected cost. Insurance. That's a big one. I think everybody's feeling it no matter where they are, right? Like Florida, obviously, you get hurricanes and shifting climates causing problems there. But it's not just Florida. Well, what are you guys seeing as far as insurance for your businesses?
Well, I have some software that calculates the net cash flow on any property, and when you take into account your insurance, your taxes, your homeowners association dues, and then if you got utilities, if you're paying your utilities. So inflation affects all of those. So I have a adjustment to adjust for inflation, and that's what it affects. That's what inflates. So yeah, insurance. I don't think we're done with inflation, and so we've already seen inflation, right? We're seeing inflation, so that's increasing the cost. One cost for real estate investors would be insurance, and I would imagine. I'm not surprised that they have a report on that.
Yeah. I was saying Origin Investments, they're a multifamily investor, experienced a surge 26% year over year. That's a lot.
I think some people are asleep on this inflation thing. I mean, because if you have contractors managing your properties, if they're not raising their rates already because they kind of fall asleep on that, they're going to have to stay in business because their costs are going up. their insurance and their supplies, right? And then labor. I don't know what's going on with the labor, if people's incomes are going up because of inflation. That's why I see people getting in trouble, is in their costs go up, but their incomes are not going up if they're on a salary, but unless they're in the right type of industry and business.
Another thing it pointed out in the article is property owners, which I'm assuming they're talking homeowners, saw a 17% increase. So not quite as bad as those multifamily guys, but still significant.
In 1 year, 17%.
Yeah.
What happens next year?
Yeah. Boy, we'll see. Let's see. Looking at some notes here. Any other comments, guys?
So I'm in the note space, and even with this, so we get, rather than insure, I insure the house with the forced place insurance. So for me, it's always kind of a backup plan in case the person living in the home is not making their payments. Then I've always got this backup forced place insurance as the mortgage holder. And same with that, we're still seeing rates going up, and we're getting articles from the insurer showing us why these rates are going up. So they're helping prepare us and justify some of the rates that we keep seeing on our bill every month.
Yeah. Well, another thing they pointed out, it said property owners are advised to negotiate rates in advance, consider different liability models, and invest in infrastructure that mitigates risk. That's good points. I know, like where I live, we're required to have, they're like a concrete, real thick kind of tile looking roof because of fire danger. We're surrounded by trees, right? So that's a requirement. Even if it wasn't a requirement, it would make sense to put something in. And we also have terrible hail, like hail capital of the world. So hail and fire are big issues, right?
I had the last property I bought, got a really good deal on it because the other buyers couldn't get a loan on the property because there was hail damage on the roof. Mm-hmm. And so the roof was fine, but they couldn't get a loan on it. So I was able to pay all cash and get a good deal on it, and I still haven't replaced the roof after 3 years. So yeah, insurance is going to, if you can, and if there's some things you can do to a property that will reduce your insurance rates, that you'll have to take a look at what it costs you to install a fire system, right, to reduce your insurance rates, and how are you going to get that return on investment over time. I just recently decided to go self-insure on health insurance because of the costs and stuff like that. I don't know. It's hard to self-insure. I think you do need to have insurance on real estate.
Wait, you're saying you don't have a health insurance plan? You're just.
Well, my wife, I'm on her plan, and she wants to retire, and the only reason why she hasn't retired yet is because of the health insurance. So we looked into how much it would cost us and how much we would gain, and we have to have like $50,000 worth of medical bills in order to pay for the health insurance to have it make any sense. So I actually used ChatGTP to figure that out, and I figured out that it would almost be better to have good asset protection, because if you don't have health insurance and you need treatment, you know how people go have a medical bankruptcy because of catastrophic things. Mm-hmm. So I usually like to have that catastrophic coverage, right? Yeah. But if I didn't, what's the worst case? The worst case is that I have these big bills and they sue me and they want to collect on that. Well, if I have good asset protection, there's nothing to collect. Then the worst case scenario is I'm not going to lose everything I own because of a health issue, right? So that was just a personal decision that we made. And so what we're doing, the money that we put into health insurance, we put into a health savings plan. So we have that money, It's just not going to the insurance company, and we're not covered for that catastrophic.
Yeah, very
Going back to
interesting.
the property insurance there, I would recommend people to go and talk to your insurance company because as I found out the hard way in the past, it is possible to underinsure where you think you've got it covered, and then with the deductible and I forget what they call it, but there was another clause in there where you won't have as much coverage as maybe you think you do. So it's worth having a conversation with the insurance people just to make sure that you've got that figured out properly, and so you're covered for as much as you think you are.
Yeah,
Nathan, do you think you can actually negotiate with insurance agents on premiums and stuff?
It possibly. It depends on your volume. It depends on your relationship, but ultimately not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but volume certainly helps if you've got volume.
Gotcha.
Hey, let's jump into the next news article from Finance Magnates. The emergence of tokenization from real estate to intellectual property. Anybody happen to read that?
I saw that. I thought it was kind of funny. Last time I checked, people tend to like to live in real houses. So I'm fascinated by this movement of people buying property and all kinds of things online for a virtual world. I personally am far too practical for that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. That's like on that other article about Ethereum.
Oh, is that a different one?
This is talking about tokenization. So,
okay.
Yeah. Which is also super interesting because, in my notes here, it offers fractional ownership, which is a way for, people that don't have a huge down payment on a property, they can get into fractional ownership. And we've talked about that on the show. There's quite a few different companies that offer that, different asset classes and stuff. So, go ahead.
So I'm curious, maybe somebody here knows what's the difference between doing that and being part of like a fund where you're buying a certain number of shares.
It's similar.
It's a type of crowdfunding. To me, it sounds like a security.
Me too.
And they're acting like it's not. And I think eventually someone's going to decide, you know what, this is a security. You can't do this anymore, or whatever. And so I heard about that. I looked into it a little bit, but yeah, it was like there's other ways to fund deals without going through the tokenization. What's the benefit of the tokenization? So I didn't see the benefit. Yeah, might as well just do a fund, traditional.
Well, you're adding tech in here too, right? You're using blockchain technology to make all the advantages of blockchain too. So,
and there might be some good advantages. I'm just not aware of them.
Yeah. Well, like increased with liquidity, enhanced transparency by leveraging blockchain. And allowing smaller investors, because you do a fund, you do a apartment syndication, right? 20 grand minimum, maybe 50, for minimums, but a college student could get in on some of these other deals, $100 or something, Yeah,
it seems like a little bit of a loophole right now for security purposes.
Oh,
I'm with Richard. I think it's going to get shut down here sooner than later. We'll see.
It's going to have to still be run by legitimate, established operators that are following all the rules, right?
Yeah.
Still be using blockchain and the tokenization.
They're going through those rules right now with Coinbase. It's like, what are the rules? Coinbase is saying we're following the rules. And they're saying for these different tokens and different coins, it's like we're following the rules. And the SEC is saying, no, you're not. So when I told you about losing my portfolio, James, the Division of Securities in Colorado was saying all my private lenders were securities, and they were secured by real estate. And it says right in there, exempt from registration and licensing if it's secured by real estate. But I was following the rules, but I lost the case. I don't know how, but so now they're going in like with Coinbase. They're saying these DeFi tokens that you're selling are securities. And they're saying, no, they're not. We're following the rules. So now it's a matter of it's up to the judge. Because the SEC is not going to tell you what to do. They're not going to, and that's what Coinbase has found out, is they're trying to get answers from the SEC. I says, if we're doing something wrong, tell me what I'm doing wrong. And that's not how they operate. So it's tough.
Yeah. Let's see. Are any of you guys, do you guys have cryptocurrency? And have you run across anybody wanting to buy with crypto from you? No.
There's not a demand for it yet. And it's almost a hassle to pay for real estate with crypto. I started buying and selling crypto in like 2013 when it was $75. I was doing that on eBay until eBay said you can't do that using PayPal. PayPal didn't want you to do transactions with crypto. And guess what PayPal's doing today? Mm-hmm. They're selling crypto. But that was I think Bitcoin, well, I think we're going into that central bank digital currency. They're really pushing that. That's not a good thing. That's like, Bitcoin is great, but I don't think there's that huge opportunity that it used to have. There's uses for it, but the government is saying we want our own Bitcoin, but we're still going to be able to print as much money as we want with our digital currency. And have you heard about the central bank digital currency, James?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's not a good thing, and they're pushing. I can't believe they're making progress on that. But
yeah,
we'll see. It's something I can't control.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. I do have a buddy that's kind of in the financial world that was raising a red flag the other day about it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not how do we control it? How's it going to affect us? There's a lot of questions, right?
Yeah, unless it's part of your mission in life to stop it, what can you do? You educate yourself when it comes around, but yeah.
All right. Let's jump into the next one. CNBC. Goldman Sachs misses on profit after hits from Greensky real estate. I guess they attributed lower profit to write-downs, which I had to look up, associated with commercial real estate and the sale of its Greensky lending unit. I don't know much about that. Anybody else?
I don't know much about this specific deal, but in the note world, this is kind of a big deal where, especially for office space, especially for that kind of commercial product, we're seeing a lot of notes coming up for sale because people are defaulting. And defaulted, I mean, we've been through that. I started in 2008 when everything was defaulted. And office space is now kind of seeing the rounds. It's very, very interesting. Speaking as somebody who works from home, I can't imagine going into an office every day. And I think that a lot of people are figuring that out. And they're saying, so why am I going to the office? And companies are saying, so why are we paying for this office space? When in many, many cases, they're finding that the same work can be done just as effectively without having to have that additional expense of office space. So I don't know where the bottom is on the office space question. Like where does it drop out, and where at what point are they going to change that to something else? If people aren't going into offices, then what? And I'm not sure what the answer is there. I've heard about people talking about converting them to apartment spaces. Maybe that's, I don't think as cost effective as you think it is, and much more time consuming and everything else. But maybe we'll see. We'll see how that transitions.
Yeah, last month we talked about some people, instead of converting office to residential, they're talking about converting to commercial space. And there's challenges with that. Like, you don't have to put in bathrooms in every unit and replumb everything, but you need higher ceilings possibly, or you know, floors that can handle more weight. You might need to be able to back up trucks to it and get them in through an office complex. Like, challenges there, but people are definitely figuring it out.
Yeah.
trying to figure out.
So we'll see what that transitions into.
Yep. Antonio he just put in the chat. Somebody maybe commented, big companies are threatening employees to come back into the office. Will it work, or will they just find different jobs?
I think people will call their bluff. I think a lot of people may say, look, I'll just get another job. I want to continue to work from home. And the company will say, well, all right, you can work from home. So that might be one way that it turns out. But why are they forcing, if people have started working at home and they're forcing them to come back, I hope they have a good reason for that.
Yeah, well, they do say there's some efficiencies, and being in close proximity in a room can be more efficient than, like, we're all used to Zoom now, but there's still a disconnect, and
well, there is. That's why when people start working at home, you have to know how to manage them. You have to know how to make, if you're paying based on results, that's fine. But if you have employees that are supposed to be doing a certain thing, yeah, it's easy for them to slough off if they're not being managed. So they just need to be managed. And yeah, in some companies, it's better to have that. You have that collaborative effort in person, depending on the industry. That's always good. It's always good. But if you have to drive a half hour or an hour to get to the office, and then, I find it's much more effective to work virtually, for me personally, and for a lot of people have found that way. Yeah, but you just have to be productive. You got to be disciplined. And some employees, if they're not disciplined, they can be encouraged to be disciplined, but that comes under being managed.
Yep. Yeah, I've worked from home since 1992, I think.
Yeah.
I can't imagine going into an office. I've gone temporarily as a consultant, but
right. Yeah. But again, we're seeing that coming out of COVID, especially the demand for property outside of larger city centers grew exponentially because people figured out, well, I don't actually need to drive into town. And big companies are threatening, and I agree. I think they're going to call the bluff and say, yeah, we'll see. Yeah. At some point, something's going to give, and I think it's going to be the employees that win for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling people about telecommuting 40 years ago when I first moved from Hawaii to Colorado. Though one of the things I was looking for is these rural areas that have this growth potential. And the reason, we talked about this earlier, but one of the reasons for that growth potential was telecommuting, because people could actually work from home. And this was I guess it was like 30 years ago, right? And it's still today, it's still a trend. That work from home and telecommuting is a trend. It's gonna go up. It's not the other way around. Yeah. So especially with the way technology is going, and yeah, after everything that people learned after COVID and all that, that's going to continue. There's so many benefits. If you do it right, it's much better. But in some industries, you have to have that physical location.
And I think a lot of companies are going to look at, just based on numbers, retention is a lot less expensive than hiring somebody new and training a new employee. So I think that's going to go a long way. And I think the employees have a lot of wiggle room there where they can say, well, go ahead and hire somebody else. And people are going to get smart, and they're going to say, this is what it would cost you to hire somebody else, or you could just pay me an extra 10 grand and I'll stay at home. Thanks.
A buddy of mine said he's been able to work from home for quite a few years. They tried to get people to come back for a little bit, but they backed off, and now they're going hard again. They want people to come in at least one day a week. And they're going to have like chefs come in, bands, like they're going in hard trying to get people to come in, incentivize them. But, offices downtown Denver, it's like everybody.
And I've talked to a lot of people that have that, where they're coming in once a week or maybe twice a week for half a day. But I think the days of 9 to 5 for most companies, and again, depending, like you said, Richard, depending on the industry, I think for most industries, I think that's done more or less.
And and you see that in the office space, now, that's affected the demand for office space, and then we have these other compounding effects with rising inflation and rising interest rates and that stuff on the commercial space. But yeah, I think the demand for people working in an office when they could actually work from home is going to go down, and that the demand for that space is going to be decreased.
Yeah. Shawn, what do you think about all that?
Well, you talk about so I work in law enforcement, so I have to go clock in every day. But we do have administration through our agency that's only coming in maybe once or twice a week. And it's true, they're finding all type of incentive just to bring the guys, to want to come back to the office, but and they tried like 3 days a week, and then they basically cut it down again to maybe 2 days a week. So I'm seeing a up and down in my agency with actually coming into the office.
Interesting.
I think it makes more sense for the company if they have a strategic plan around that. It makes take advantage of that. Reduce the time, the money, the expense, all of that. As long as you get the result, as long as you get the end result that you need from your team.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's take a break for our next sponsor.
It's me again, Antonio Holman, founder of United States Real Estate Investor and producer of This Month in Real Estate Investing. One of the best ways to increase your company's brand awareness and increase warm leads is to create written content online. But as we know, content creation can be very time consuming and not very cost effective when having to pay professional copywriting fees. It's time to use REI Content Packs. REI Content Packs done-for-you content packs give you the tools, flexibility, and cost-effective way to increase your brand's visibility and online presence without spending hours or even days stressing on what to create. REI Content Packs are a collection of high-quality, ready-made real estate blog articles exclusively created for the real estate investing industry. Can you imagine the possibilities if you could do 2 to 3 more deals per month without increasing your ad spend? REI Content Packs can help you do that. Can you imagine getting unlimited online traffic, increasing your Google ranking, getting more leads, and making more money? REI Content Packs can help you do that too. To get started increasing your brand's content and lessening your workload, head on over to thismonthinrealestateinvesting.com/REI Content Packs. That's thismonthinrealestateinvesting.com/REI Content Packs. It's time to get off the online marketing hamster wheel. Try REI Content Packs today at thismonthinrealestateinvesting.com/REI Content Packs. Now back to James and This Month in Real Estate Investing.
All right. So from Miami Herald, Citadel CEO Ken Griffin, buys $83 million office building, increasing investments in South Florida. So here we got kind of a flip to whatever else is happening. I know we've talked about him before, so I guess he moved from Chicago to Miami, which really helped confidence in that market because people look to him being such a big heavyweight in the real estate space. Another thing, it said South Florida's growth, corporate expansions, favorable business environment, and warm climate continue to drive the demand for office space in the area.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hot area, and there's a lot of money there. And if you got a lot of money, yeah, that's a good place to be. Don't know how long that's going to continue or if it's going to change, but there's always going to be demand for that area, and there's a lot of money there now.
Yeah, it's kind of an anomaly. Go ahead, Shawn. Yeah.
So going back, James, to like Richard said, there's a lot of money in that area. Mm-hmm. So where I'm at here in Southwest Georgia, there is a office complex next to one of my storages, and I wanted this complex so bad, and but the bank kept giving me a hard time on it. Just did not want to finance it for me. I think it's like 15, 20,000 square feet building. But as you guys were talking about being creative with these buildings, I was going to do the same thing. I was going to actually make half of it like part of the storage facility, like indoor climate control storages. Um, and I guess didn't have the what I needed at the time for the bank to say yes, But basically, they did not want to touch it, And here it is that I got my facility for storages, built this thing up, what I'm saying, making I think it was that 90% capacity. I got it to fill, and here's this office complex next to it. They say no. I just think location. I think location was the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I find this fascinating because this is exactly opposite of what we were just talking about before the break. So it's what's he seeing that I'm not seeing, and what does he know that I don't know? I don't know. I'm curious what the rationale is there and what the plan is, because he spent a lot of money on it, so he's got a plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wonder what his portfolio is like, personal, and then he runs this Citadel, huge hedge fund.
Right.
Is a risk he's willing and able to take?
Well, it could be taxes. I know for your personal residence, there's if you want a multi-million-dollar properties, Florida is a good way to go for your personal residence. So I don't know what the tax benefits are for him to go down in there. So there might be. So when you take a look at what people are doing, it's like, why did they do that? You don't always have the full picture. Mm-hmm. My buddy just recently bought a $4 million office building, but one of the reasons he bought it was he got a $1.5 million tax break, and he makes about $500,000 a month. So it was important to him in his situation. So this guy running a hedge fund, you don't know what some of the motivations might be sometimes.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that kind of a strategy. I'd be curious, have a chat with him one day and just say, so it's a lot of money, man. What are you doing?
Well, it's also great. There's a lot of rich people there. There's a lot of partying. There's a lot of weather. There's a lot of cool stuff in South Florida, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're going to be anywhere, where do you want to go? That's what I try and tell people, think about all the time, is if you could live anywhere, where would you want to live? And come up with that answer and figure that out, because you should live wherever you want.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, maybe we'll get Ken Griffin on the show here next month.
Yeah.
Antonio, we have a spot. All right. From Benzinga, rising construction may ease housing price pressures, economists say. I guess there's a lot of increased construction activity in multifamily housing. We see that here in Denver. I mean, it's the city of cranes. I thought it was going to slow down, but it doesn't seem to be. What are you guys seeing?
I've seen that a lot of those new developments are really expensive. So they're not like creating affordable housing. I think the trend is affordable housing, and that might ease up on some of the supply, help with some the supply. But what they really need to do is create some affordable housing communities, really nice places to live, have some shared stuff, but make it more affordable. I think that's what's going to be needed in the future. And there's a lot of benefits to that. People are being more conservative. They don't have to have their McMansion anymore, per se, depending on where they are in their life. So yeah, I think the trend will be being more conservative. It's actually a long-term trend. It's like a 60-year cycle, and it started a number of years ago. But people are being more conservative. So consumerism is actually dying, and more conservatism is growing. And those are long-term trends that have been butting heads against each other, affecting the real estate markets and everything else. But people's values for the past, 10 years, when you have them, but one's going down, one's going up, you have this period of conflict and that's what we're seeing in politics and stuff like that. People are being divided, and that's part of that socio-economic cycle that we're going through, and it's not over. And maybe the next year or two, maybe it's going to get a little more crazy, but it's crazy right now as far as people being divided. It's kind of nuts.
I think the key in that article is a lot of the construction is in multifamily, and it may not be exactly affordable housing, but perhaps more affordable than a single family dwelling.
Right.
True.
And so a lot of people, I think, are gravitating toward that just because price matters. And again, I've got my own house, and that would be, for me, that would be a difficult transition into some place where I don't have a yard, where I don't have the space that I like and things like that. But for a lot of people, I think they've decided it's worth it, and they're willing to maybe downsize in order to save some money or get into a house at all.
Yeah, it is part of that baby boomer trend of people downsizing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's always going to be that, right? But yeah, economically, sometimes they're forced into that. So yeah, that article was kind of showing that it was multifamily was seeing a spike, but then single family was declining, or that's what they were seeing it was starting to do. So
as far as housing starts.
Housing starts, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shawn, in the storage space, are you finding an increase in business because people are downsizing and storing their stuff? Is that something that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Again, I purchased my third facility back in April, but that facility I purchased, I mean, it just went up like 30% when I took over, and so many families were basically saying that they were just downsizing and moving in together with other people. So it was a plus for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I like storage facilities and mobile home parks. I think those are good things to own.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what market we're in, right? Mm-hmm. Especially self-storage. It just seems to weather those shifts.
But it's unbelievable how many going up though, especially here in Southwest Georgia. I mean, you can't turn the corner, you see a sign, Jack's self-storage coming soon, and then I'm sitting here like wondering, oh my God, are they going to affect me, but I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, providing good services. And so far, I've been very steady with my numbers and going up over the summer. So I'm in a happy place.
How did you find those deals? Did you go, were they on the market, or did you go out and approach sellers?
So that's why I said your strategy is ringing a bell with me. I like your strategy because everything you said, I blueprint. I followed that, everything. I went to a bank one time, so I had at one time residential 25, 30 doors. And not one time did I go to a bank. I all did the seller financing, just knocked on the door. I call it driving for dollars, of course. And but for the storage facility, I had 5 duplexes, and next to the duplexes were a storage facility, and just abandoned. So I found out who it belongs to, found that person, and went and talked with them. It took them 6 months until I got a yes. They kept saying no, 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 no. It took them 6 months, Richard, and they finally agreed to it. And it was an amazing thing. And I basically, after that, I think a year later, I went for another one. So, and here I am to a third one and going to sign for a fourth one this fall.
Well, why was it abandoned? Do you know the whole backstory?
I think that it's just like the mobile home parks that Richard is talking about. It's that you have the same individual that owned this park or owned this facility for X amount of years, decades, maybe inherited from grandmother or grandfather. Mm-hmm. And so they're getting old, and 9 out of 10, their children don't want it.
Right.
And, and and you can tell that they're not putting money into it. So it's almost like a relief. One lady told me it was a relief that she got rid of that. She said she thanked me for buying it, And so here is me, an energetic guy that want to go in and make some money. And I said, look, I don't want to go to a bank. That's you and I work something out, and you be my bank. And that's and they're like, okay, they agreed to it, and here I am again, going on a fourth facility doing the same thing.
Well, that's my favorite market, is retiring landlords. So if you have someone with a facility like that, they're a landlord, right? They're managing the property, and these people are done. So yeah, you can get a very specific list in the zip codes that you want to own in. And I actually use ChatGTP to create a free special report for self-storage owners, and I created a cool postcard I can share with you, which is basically getting just any. We're targeting self-storage owners, and we're saying, look, there's a lot of reasons to own. There's a great reasons to own a self-storage, but you might be done. If you're done, give me a call, and that's all it says. And we just want people that are done or ready to talk and avoid the hassles, because in self-storage, just like other types of commercial, when they're done, if they've owned it for a while, because we would target people that have owned it for 10 years or more, right? They don't want to put in the new fangled security locks and lights and the gates. They don't want that.
They don't want to do any type of at all.
That's right. That's what you're looking for. And then you immediately increase the income on the property. That immediately increases the value.
Right. And I was able to go into each one and do that. Yeah,
great.
Each one. Yeah, so
that's cool.
Yeah,
awesome. Hey, let's keep it moving. From Insider, people are calling out house flippers who took a $260,000 New York home and are now selling it for $1.2 million. HGTV absolutely ruined people's brains, it says. Any thoughts on that?
Shawn? I got two.
Number
one, they're jealous.
Yeah.
Number two, the other piece of the information that we don't have in that article is how much money did they spend on renovations?
Exactly.
You look at those beginning and end numbers, and it looks like an unreal deal. Yeah. But I can tell you from experience, there's a lot that goes into that. A lot.
They did take it from 2-bed, 2-bath to 3-bed, 3-bath. Yeah. So obviously that was a major renovation.
Yeah. And then they're just jealous.
Yeah. I mean, because you have no idea how much they spent, because they bought the property for that price, right? Yeah. What was the price? $260,000. You don't know how much they spent on the renovation, and you don't know what problems that they were solving for the seller, or the seller was happy to sell it as is for that price. So they don't have the whole picture. And if as long as they can sell it, if there's a market for it for 1.2 million, and they didn't take advantage of the seller, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Exactly.
I agree.
Yeah. Who knows what they got into when they opened up walls with the old house, and what their holding costs were. Like, that's the other big thing people don't understand. Like, you got loans, high interest loans. If that goes on months and months for a major rehab.
Yeah. And if there's other houses in the neighborhood that can support that kind of a price, then I don't see anything wrong with that. That's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. It is the market.
You can be angry at the situation, but okay.
Yeah. You can't force a buyer to buy something they don't want to throw down money on. Yeah. I have to tell sellers that in this market, right? Like they think it's worth this. Like, well, things have come down. People aren't going to pay you what you want. I can't force them to grab a pen and sign. Like, that's not how it works.
So they can seller finance it, create a note, and then sell it to me. I'll take care of it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Another thing about that article is they're selling it for 1.2. That's what they're asking. They haven't even sold it yet.
This is true. Yeah. Good point too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shawn? Shawn, you're going to say something?
Nope.
All right. Okay, let's jump into our final news item, our fun news item from CNBC. The number one way to grow your wealth, according to a self-made millionaire, it's deceptively simple, he says. Guy's name's Ramit Sethi. I don't know if I'm saying that. He's the author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich and a host of a new Netflix show called How to Get Rich. He said, start investing and gradually increase the amount, number one. 2, push for the salary you deserve if you have a W-2 job, and pursue a side hustle, number 3. And then there was also another little video online that he went over toxic money beliefs. 1, not talking about money, like family and friends, not questioning beliefs you learned growing up. And number 3, thinking investing is only for rich people. Any thoughts about that, guys?
Well, it's funny. Richard said earlier when we were first came on about you almost got to have a side hustle. Real estate has been very good to me, lucrative with my storages. But if I did not have real estate investing on the side, oh my God, it'd probably be tough. It really would.
And there's two things. There's investing your money. Okay, so I'm not a real estate investor. I'm a real estate entrepreneur, because I don't get a return on my money. I get a return on my marketing dollars spent, right? But I'm not investing my money in a real estate to get a return on investment. So that article, they're talking about you need to take some of the money you're making in your job and invest it over time. And that is absolute great advice. In fact, I've taught people for many years, if you just take 5% of every big check that you get, because I'm talking to real estate investors that get big checks, but even a $3,000 check, any check you get, take 5%, put it in savings, never touch it, just invest it or leave, just don't ever spend it. And if you do that with all the income that comes in, and you just put 5% and you have 95% left to spend or do whatever you want with and pay your bills, that's going to give you that financial freedom over time, right? Now, in that article, he also said investing in the stock market, I would say I'd be careful about that. I would be looking, if you are going to invest some of your money, it would be nice to have it in something physical like precious metals or that you own, that you have, or real estate, okay? Now, stock market is great, but it's paper. It's paper assets. It's not hard assets. That's why I like real estate. But yeah, and then over time it says get a raise on your job or get a side hustle. The side hustle. So the side hustle should be real estate entrepreneurship. That should be your side hustle, or notes, buying and selling notes. Because now, Nathan, you buy and sell, or you do the note business, but you're not investing you're using other people's money to buy the notes, or are you investing your money in notes? How does your business work?
It's mainly investor money. I put together a fund, and so people invest in the fund, and then I'm building up my own portfolio at the same time.
So you're making money running that.
Right.
Yeah, you're making profits as a business owner.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. As opposed to investing, which is actually getting a return on your money. And
it's an important distinction because yes, I run a business. So I run a note business. And then besides that, I'm also a note investor.
There you go. That's another good place. That's another good place to invest money, would be in notes, for sure. Secured by real estate.
Exactly.
Secured notes. Secured by something you're willing to take back if they stop paying.
Exactly.
That you'd actually be happy about.
Yeah, we call them happy loans. Happy if they pay, happy if they don't pay.
Yeah. A couple other notes. I guess Ramit, the host of that show, he said he hates the idea of buying a home. Says it's a waste of money, cheaper to rent. Says the overall costs of having a home is much more than renting. What do you guys think about that?
I haven't run the numbers, but I would tend to disagree. But I don't know. I haven't actually run the numbers, so I don't know.
It would depend on the location, but like in Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's famous book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he teaches that your home is not an investment; it's a liability. You have to pay property taxes. You got to pay insurance. You're not getting any income from it, right? Yep. So it's technically your personal residence is not an investment. It's more of a liability.
Yeah, right. Unless you leverage it, right? And it's not factoring in loan pay down, the fact that your loan amount is not going up like rent does every month. Right. You're not able to write off, on your taxes. So those are big things that get kind of left out of that amount that you're paying per month for rent, right? So I disagree wholeheartedly.
Are you saying your home that you live in is an investment?
I would say no, it's not necessarily an investment, but you can leverage that, sure. If you are smart about taking money out of that, maybe not paying it off like the thinking was in the past, and then turning that into other rentals because you're able to borrow against that. Then I would call it.
Yeah, well, you're building equity in the home. You have equity in your home, and now you're investing that in income property.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, you can borrow against it, but yeah, you can. There's nothing wrong with borrowing money as long as there's a return on that debt. Right. What everybody needs to do is get rid of their consumer debt, all of their consumer debt. That's the best investment you can make, is take that extra money, pay off all your consumer debt, and any debt that you do have has a return that it pays. Like you said, you borrow against equity in your house, you buy some rental properties or get into some rental properties that the property is paying that debt off. And that's smart. That's the way to do it.
Yep. Yeah. All right, guys. That's our show for the month. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Jason Palliser's 2-day investment blueprint and REI content packs. Again, thanks to our guests. Go ahead and let people know how they can connect with you, and we'll go from there.
Oh, by the way, Jason is a great guy. He's a super marketer, and I think it's all about finding deals. His 2-day blueprint is all about like 40 different ways to find deals. So he's a great guy. I had him speak at my marketing boot camp a couple of years ago, right near where he lives down in Florida. So I'm Richard Roop. I'm at profitpro.ai. I'm the founder of the Aim High Society, and basically it's a little mastermind of real estate investors and information marketers, but any type of business where they want to use AI strategies and tools to save time and leverage themselves and make more money in their business. So kind of entrepreneurial group.
Fantastic. Nathan, want to go next?
Yeah, Nathan Turner. So email me, nathan@earnestinvesting.com. So I run my fund. That's my fund, Earnest Investing. And then Diversified Mortgage Expo is a note conference I put on every year. We just held it at the beginning of June. So the next one's not until next June. But we'd love to have you there. Everything notes. If you're brand new, if you're seasoned, we take everybody and just talk about notes for a few days there down in Nashville.
Cool. All right, Shawn.
Shawn Honer. I can be contacted through LinkedIn, Shawn Honer, Facebook, Sugar Bear Storage, or my email address is shawn.honer@yahoo.com.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Again, I work with investors, and if you got any questions or want to dive in, go to hybridinvestor.vip. Also, thanks to our producer, Antonio Holman, working in the background. He's with United States Real Estate Investor. Follow and subscribe to This Month in Real Estate Investing on YouTube at youtube.com/@UnitedStatesREI or your favorite podcast app. And if you run across interesting news, events, good guests, any ideas, feel free to share. by emailing Antonio at UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com. And remember, when one door closes, another door opens to financial freedom. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.